It has been more than a year since the coalition airstrikes began in Iraq and Syria. So now, where do we stand in the fight against ISIS? The first airstrikes against ISIS began August 8, 2014, several weeks before the beheadings of American journalists James Foley and Steven Sotloff. The U.S. Defense Department says since then more than 8,000 airstrikes have hit Iraq and Syria. Almost two-thirds of those have been launched by the United States at a cost of nearly $5 billion. Targets include oil refineries, pipelines, buildings, armored vehicles, tanks, and fighting positions. The targets are strategic, designed to weaken ISIS both militarily and financially by destroying the oil infrastructure that enables ISIS to sell oil on the black market. There are now 65 coalition partners, but not all of them are engaged in combat. Only 9, including the United States, are actually involved in airstrikes against ISIS. At the start of the bombing campaign, the CIA said there were as many as 30,000 ISIS fighters. The CIA has yet to update those numbers. ISIS considers itself a state and is setting up governments in captured cities like Raqqa in Syria and Ramadi and Mosul in Iraq. ISIS has also made significant gains in Libya and Egypt. And then there's the question of loyalties. In Syria, there's President Bashar al-Assad on one side and ISIS on the other, with a number of rebel factions in between, whose loyalties can be very difficult to figure out. The U.S. has spent hundreds of millions of dollars training moderate Syrian rebels with little to no success. Drone strikes have killed several high-value ISIS leaders in the region, including Hafiz Saeed, the ISIS leader in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and Mohammed Emwazi, also known as Jihadi John, who was killed in November. But now ISIS is entering a dangerous new phase in response to coalition advances, launching external operations in which European nationals train and fight alongside ISIS fighters to carry out attacks like the one in Paris. And now they're threatening more. ISIS has also claimed responsibility for taking down a Russian passenger plane in Egypt in October, an attack it says was in retaliation for Russian airstrikes in Syria. Those airstrikes are not being launched in coordination with the United States because the two nations disagree on whether Bashar al-Assad should stay in power. Yet another sign of just how complicated this fight is and how ISIS is growing amidst the chaos.
A massive manhunt tonight, officials desperately searching for the attacker who got away. This video from thedailymail.com showing a man who may be Salah Abdeslam, the 26-year-old now the most wanted man on earth. His face now known to the world. Salah and his brother Brahim, who blew himself up the night of the attacks, rented the 3 cars that delivered the gunmen to their killing sprees. One of the cars later found with 3 AK-47s inside. Salah also rented this hotel room in a Paris suburb in the days before the attacks. He grew up here in Molenbeek, Belgium, a neighborhood we visited in Brussels with a large Muslim immigrant population. And as Salah's brother Mohammed told me, home to many young men who have gone to Syria to train with ISIS. Salah ran a bar in Molenbeek. It was closed down just weeks ago after police found it was a haven for drug dealers. When I spoke to Salah's brother Mohammed, he told me both of his brothers like to party.
They have brothers who go out all day long, who may sometimes even go out 2 or 3 days without coming back home to sleep.
Mohammed told me things changed recently when his brothers stopped drinking. He believes they became radicalized through the internet. Now Salah is on the run. I asked Mohammed what he wants to say to him.
I would tell him to surrender. That's the best solution, to contact the authorities.
His brother told me Salah Abdeslam is afraid to turn himself in. He may also fear retribution from ISIS for abandoning his childhood friend, the reported ringleader of the Paris attacks, Abdelhamid Abaoud. But wherever Salah is, Mohammed has another message for him.
These are my brothers. I love them. That's for sure.